So from my perspective, it would be the investment that's already in that stack. I think there's a lot of work our engineers have done around security, compliance, and privacy in particular, and that's got to focus on things like GDPR. So those capabilities already exist in the platform, and a way for you to essentially say, look, my data's here, so it makes sense for the platform to have an easy way of pushing out policies to control that data. So we're thinking about things like who has access, surfacing that data, particularly if it's sensitive as well, but also where that data is going and controlling that. So if it's native, it makes it easy to do that. It's one less thing to worry about instead of thinking about APIs and connectives to try and surface data that's somewhere else and then govern that.
Yeah, I mean, nativeness for me means acceleration, right? You know, I've spent my entire career building products, and that a lot of the time requires integration between products.
Yep.
You know, a true native integration takes a very long time to get in a good state. You have to have it to test it alongside a lot of customers in production, work and iron out those bugs. But once that's actually all set up, the acceleration that you get from an integration like CluedIn to Microsoft Purview that has enough scar tissue built up, enough customers that have walked through the end-to-end use cases, you are dealing with a much more complete experience. That's something that might be surface level. And for that, that's why we have our strategic alignment with Microsoft, because it's how do we get as native as possible? In the end, that's what helps our customers. Our customers experience and appreciate a more native feel, like they're not jumping from system to system. I think that's also been the evolution we've been through in data management over the last few years, is people are looking more towards a consolidated stack.
Absolutely.
That's one of the things I love about partnering with Microsoft, is they have this real gravity within the enterprise, in that they have this stack that's really nicely wired together. And of course, I guess the thing you've got to choose is, okay, well, what's potentially the best option? Is it going for something that's so specifically and best in breed for exactly what you're doing, or something that has such a ecosystem play that when instinctively or naturally you're going to say, oh, we now need workflow? The fact that you're an ecosystem play, you get to choose from this catalog and say, yeah, there's a great workflow engine over here. Look how much time I've saved. That's, for me, the importance of nativeness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think the key thing here is thinking about what automation and scaling means, right? And that means you need to focus on your data quality at source, meaning that you can trust that before you lean into any automation. So for now, it's really kind of thinking about your housekeeping, your data housekeeping. Typically, that ends up being something that our customers will shift priorities on because there's other things that are at hand. And the governance piece isn't really thought about or deployed. I think now's the time to really start focusing on that. So things like oversharing, over-retention, access to that data set. If that's not something you've reviewed yet, I think you certainly should focus on that before leaning into automation and AI and scaling. And that's start as soon as you can. Start yesterday is kind of my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I would say we send a couple of joint messages to our joint customers is, you know, when I work with the group in Redmond from Microsoft, they've got this kind of idea of jump in right now and iterate, and you'll learn along the way, because guess what? Everybody else is learning along the way. No one kind of knows what's going to be the end state of AI, but you have to start building up that knowledge within the business to know how to execute on it. But it comes back to, what can people start on today? Well, that probably means that you can't start just easily putting this into production use cases that are critical on transactional data and things like this. But what you can start to do is get your house in order. And AI can be used to help get your house in order. We had a presentation before, we talked about things like putting in standards on data. Well, easier said than done. There's so many different ways that people will enter data. For you to code your way into capturing all of those and transforming them into a standard, this can be accelerated by AI. So I think for me, one of the really exciting things for us at CluedIn with our partnership with Microsoft is going on that journey together.
Absolutely.
And I can see that Microsoft and the teams we're working with, they're learning at the same pace that we are, right? And there's a lot of technology advances that'll need to be done in that space. But right now, get your house in order, Next month, start to put in more strategies now that you know more about what's going on. The long-term goal is think about what that's going to look like when you start to put your own custom large language models into play.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the biggest value, the biggest ROI that people are looking for. I myself could just imagine some of the questions that I get could in the future, 1 year, 2 years, easily just be answered by a Copilot better, faster, without having to wait for my email that I probably logged up over the last 4 days by not answering it. And I think that's the exciting part.
Well, the technology's there or will be there, but I think now's a great opportunity to review things like your people and process. What are the controls you should be concerned about from a governing point of view? What are the privacy laws or regulations that we need to factor in when we're using these technologies? So when it comes to a point of deploying the technology itself, you've got that framework, you've got the baseline, you understand what you need to be concerned about, and then you can embrace new innovation.
Good stuff.
Right.
Well, thanks a lot for your time, Adon. Good to speak with you today. We had a lot of good interactive audience, which is fantastic. So thanks for your time.
Absolute pleasure, Tim. Good
Cheers.
to meet you in person.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.